Breadboards, or protoboards, are useful to help prototype and test out circuits. They allow you to connect parts together simply by inserting wires or leads into the tiny holes. Right here, I'm putting a capacitor and a resistor on the board. They help to make the circuit creation process a little bit easier, since it reduces the amount of wires needed to connect everything together, and you can quickly switch out parts if you need to, just in case if something messes up. The way to connect parts together is to know that all the holes horizontal to each other are connected to each other. So in this case, all of these holes are connected to each other. You can also know that on the sides here, all the holes that are vertical are actually connected to each other. So each column of holes are connected to each other. So this column is connected to that one, and this column is all connected to each other as well. This is typically used to connect power and ground, so you can actually use that to connect it to the rest of your circuit. Just to understand how this all works, if you grab a breadboard and tear off the bottom portion of it, you'll notice that there's some metal filaments underneath. Let me go ahead and just do that. You can see that the metal filaments will connect to the holes on the top. And this breadboard helps to show why the horizontal holes are connected to each other. So you can see right here that the little metal filaments are all horizontally connected to each other, like so. Now, if you tear off the bottom of a breadboard that looks more like the one we're using, you can see that the holes on the sides are connected to each other vertically as well. Now with this, if you want to wire things up in parallel, simply connect one end of your part to one of the holes, and then connect the other end to a hole on a different row. In order for the other part to be connected in parallel to that, make sure that the ends are inserted into holes that are in the same rows as the other part's ends. If you want to wire things up in series, connect one end of the part to one of the holes that is in the same row as the end of the other part, and then connect the other end of the part to any other hole that is on a different row. You can also add dual inline package integrated circuits to the breadboard as well. Simply put the integrated circuit on the bridge of the breadboard. Each pin should now be connected to a different row, and the holes on each of these rows can help to connect parts to the pins on the integrated circuit. Now this breadboard also has terminals on the top. You can use this to connect wires from, say, a power supply to the breadboard. The top hole is used to connect banana cables, like this, to the terminal. Note that these terminals don't connect directly to the breadboard, so you have to route the wires yourself. If you unscrew the terminal, you'll be able to gain access to a small hole underneath where you can put a wire through. Now let me just go ahead and angle the board so you can see it a bit more clearly. You can use the wire that you put through the terminal to connect the terminal to the rest of the board. To do that, simply put a wire with the metal exposed into the hole and then screw the terminal tight. This should help to connect the wire to the metal of the terminal. I connected the wire to one of the holes on the power line. Now simply connect the banana cable to the terminal. Now whatever is connected to the banana cable is now connected to the power line on the breadboard. You can use the wire to connect the banana cable to any part of the breadboard as well. That pretty much summarizes how to use a breadboard. Here are a few samples of breadboard projects, and you can see that some can get very, very complicated.